Good evening. We are online, the Moscow School of Civic Education. This meeting will be at the same time an introduction and an introducing deliberation of the founders of the Moscow School, Lena Nemirovskaya and Yury Senokosov. You may have heard about this school and read about it in a volume entitled History Teaches. You may influence our forum. We have over 1,000 Facebook viewers, and those who have not registered may well join in. What made us to come together through electricity, through the invention of mankind, such as internet, writing, and even the power of thought and the language. These are the things that have brought us together to attempt this communication, which may be the only little bridge to the truth. We have come together for voicing our opinions. We do not provide solutions. We do not give answers. We're just trying to create a forum to seek these answers together. It is our great privilege to welcome you all. As Lena entitled her letter, the Enlightenment is a risky enterprise. Lena, the floor is yours. Sveta and Sasha, thank you very much, and thank you all, those who have come to the school and to materialize it, those who have come to implement this venture in this electronic, almost ethereal form. And even though I do not see your eyes, I hope for a discussion, and the technology will rather help us. Sveta spoke about human inventions. I think that one of the unique inventions, just like the wheel and the airplane, is the communication and the art of communication. Let me try to express it in a more conventional way. Agora of Athens was a means of communication, a place for a discussion to emerge, a place for a discussion to flourish. Through such a discussion, any mental image, any thought brings us back to ourselves, saturated with the opinions of the others, the views of the others, the experience of the others, and the consciousness of those who have communicated with us. This contemporary word and concept of communication tells us a lot about human life. Without communication, humans do not exist. Thinking is an arduous process. It is hard to keep your mind afloat. But if a thought comes out, then this is like a glimmer in the night. The truth is indeed a thing hard to find. Some 25 years ago, Mamardashvili, a famous philosopher, said that verity or the truth cannot be proven, but it is the pillar for everything. He spoke about the ways that the mind works. The mind works in a symbolic way. It may be directed towards something concrete or specific or something abstract, but it works in a most unique way. It works in a symbolical plane. In that same symbolical way, the democracy works. Unfortunately, today, in this country, it is not modern or proper to speak about democracy, the civil society. It seems to be redundant to speak and feel oneself to be a citizen. While we do not know it for its value, but we know that thanks to these symbols, the civilization works and continues to exist. The mind works, to which the existence of the other is of importance. And this is not just about tolerance, but also about solidarity with the other. Unfortunately, our mind in the past 2 years seems to be falling out of practice, seems to be forgetting that solidarity, coherence is about social life. And to me, as a person with an experience of primarily in a Soviet society, in the Soviet Union, which is not to say that I did not meet many beautiful people in the Soviet times, people who were quite close to me in their mindset and in their spirit. However, there were no fundamentals which we share in the Soviet life. The ideology which was imposed upon the society leads to intolerance. It does not allow the others to exist. The others are subjected to terror. And the fact of life whereby through propaganda we may go back to ideology, and that we may go back to a strange view of life whereby all concepts are put on equal footing. But I think that I belong to a minority which indeed gleaned some experience from the Soviet life. I think that any ideology is a rudiment of the Dark Ages. Many illustrious authors spoke about this. I have recently reread the texts of Dmitry Likhachev, the great Russian scholar and humanitarian, who said that if Russia tries to go back to the age of ideologies, and if Russia tries to build ideology as a specific path, then Russia would eventually encounter the same tragic condition when it found itself towards the end of the Soviet Union. This idea of a specific, unique path has been construed and is construed through the modern television, not very professionally but certainly very zealously. And in this way, an aggressive reality is being generated. And this aggressive reality is burdensome, is an encumbrance on the entire country. It seems to me that at this stage, in this period, when inertia of culture is at work and when the false activity tries to reproduce the ideas of a special path and some unicity of historical advancement, we as people who live in Russia and wish to live in a country which is modern, we feel we have a feeling of discomfort. And the experience, this stern experience of the recent past, has not been reconsidered, and thus this past, which has not been considered duly, awaits us in the form of the future. It may be that there exist several ways to recognize this, because there are several ways towards evolution and changes. I trust only one path. This path is called enlightenment. And what the school does, what the school has been doing is indeed that, civic education. Education and enlightenment empower people to think in a free and responsible way. It allows others to think and voice their opinions, which would be heard. And through this agora of human thought and communication, to resolve some contradictions and conflicts in the social and political life. For this reason, we suggest a form of discussion as a method, as an environment which is not that of a rigorous school, but rather an environment which fosters critical thinking. Intellect is necessarily critical. This is a property of our mind. Intellect always presupposes an encounter, and in this also lies the specifics of the mental process. What the school suggests is a discussion, a seminar, a forum, but traditionally it's the agora. The agora where we come to meet to think and discuss. I wish this educational process for the year 2015 to come and relive this inimicable pleasure of free thinking. Thank you. Yury Petrovich. Good evening. Good evening, dear friends. Lena has been concise in setting our aims and objectives and imparting to you some words about the nature of our work. Of course, at seminar, in the real-time seminar setting, there is a lot livelier and probably even there is more merriment. But very unfortunately, this electronic seminar makes us somewhat feel strange because it may not be a very customary thing for me to speak before an empty hall. However, let me try to say that education is what we do. But when we're asked, well, what is the difference between what you do and what the state does? Our status, our condition is not an easy one, and it causes many questions, it causes misunderstanding, because indeed many people do not have an understanding of what is civic education or enlightenment. We're all citizens by our passports, we're born citizens, and we know about this, and we never think about this knowledge. This knowledge provides us with rights and responsibilities, and the school, if you will, tries to remind us of these rights and responsibilities, because the word of a citizen and the civil society emerged in the 18th century. It was first introduced in the Age of Enlightenment, the Age of Reason, during the French Revolution. There started the talk of about the human rights, and Louis Blanc, a political figure in the era of the French Revolution, wrote in one of his articles quite a characteristic statement, characteristic for his time. He said that the idea whereby the people is the only legitimate source of power got established after revolution in its entirety, and nobody even thought about developing or considering this concept, because the popular sovereignty started and got its origin after the revolution. This sovereignty is not to be divided. One has to agree and choose between either the principle of inherited power or the elected power. It's either the people or the Pope of Rome. These are the words of Louis Blanc in 1917. By following that same formula, the Russian people chose not for the autocracy, not for the orthodoxy, but it chose for the sovereignty of the people, the sovereignty of the majority, which was declared by the Bolshevist party. However, the Bolshevist party took the society towards the construction of communism, and when you remember history, it is interesting to juxtapose and to compare this willingness of the Russian proletariat and the European working class to creation of the international, and the willingness of the proletarians of all nations to move towards communism, a communitarian society of the future, whereby the Europeans after World War II implemented and set forth on the path of a unified Europe. Indeed, the unified Europe did have its birth in 1991 according to the Maastricht Treaty, and in that same year the Soviet Union ceased to exist. Indeed, the ideology or the idea of an international of the workers became abolished with the demise of the Soviet Union. When we get back to the concept of a citizen, we should remember that these were no longer the subjects. Starting from 1917, these were the citizens of the Russian Federation, and indeed a bifurcation for the Russian people at that time was that if there is a majority, then the majority is being won through elections, and this majority supported during the elections, when the government is elected, is on the one hand a political process. However, the administrative power is just as important, because the people, the citizens, wish to live in a more prosperous and just society, and they're more interested in having some other society compared to what they had lived under the monarchy or theocracy, for that matter. So after perestroika, this country came to live in a situation when we delegated our rights to the government, and in principle, the elected system exists in this country. There's a multi-party system is postulated, but we understand, notwithstanding the economic and the financial crisis that this country is going through, and the foreign situation in the foreign policies, which certainly influences any educated person thinks about overcoming these problems and resolving the contradictions which exist in our lives. How is this to be done? As always in life, this is something, there's nothing new under the moon. Apart from the Enlightenment, apart from the education there are no other ways for people to emanate, to emancipate, and the teachers teach, but who would teach the teacher? The parents bring up the child, but who would rear the parents? So here we come across the same problems which first started to be considered starting from the 17th, 18th centuries. We're talking about the secular problems of a secular state, the secular culture, and we believe that we are realizing these potential. The parties exist. The parliament is there. There are some discussions in the public space. However, the problem of a modern, of a citizen of a modern country is just as important, which means that every human must think and must consider his or her well-being, be an honest person, not trespass the law. But the situation is further aggravated by the fact that, as I already said, when the French Revolution, after the French Revolution, the society of a majority evolved in France, and while the people, well, we know that that the true majority is not possible in any elections, and there is always a minority in every elections, and the interests of some groups are necessarily omitted from the parliament. And the social and political problems persist. And so when you look at the Western Europe, you understand that starting from 1980s, the society of a majority started to change. We know this by our own country, because even though we continue to profess the importance of a majority, and the government is very active in dealing with these concepts of a majority. The government is extremely relying on this concept of a majority. But what is indeed to be done for the power of the majority not to impose itself upon the minorities? And we live in the 21st century. The life today is so diverse. It is so multifaceted, not just in terms of profession, clothing, fashions, but in its very nature. I think that many things in our lives have changed, but we continue, however, to subjugate ourselves to the will of a majority, which is not, by far, not always just. By involving ourselves with the education, we tend to deliberate together. Our experts for the past 20 years, the Russian experts and the Western experts, we believe that it is important in this public space where we come together, usually here in Golitsina. We find it important to discuss those questions and issues of our lives. This is not to say that we can, by sitting in the hall, to solve these problems, but we can at least understand them better. We may learn to discuss these. We may understand how questions must be asked and what are the acceptable ways of expressing an opinion in such a way the relevant problems and the consideration of the burning problems of the modernity was the reason for us to establish these schools 20 plus years ago. And the motto of this school, the civic education to a civil society, is indeed and was established first in this school 20 years ago. Talking about the different ills of the society, be they corruption or other questions of the social life, we should also remember about the things that are of great relevance to us. We value comfort. We want to live in a comfortable society. We want to live a normal life. We wish to be citizens, not just Russians, Georgians, Germans, which is quite well understood in itself in terms of our national identity, but we also need to be citizens and to understand and to seek the life which is more dignified and comfortable than what we see today. We believe that starting from tomorrow, if you follow our broadcasts, you will come to see and you will come to hear about the objectives of such venture, and I hope that some of you will profit by embarking on this journey with us. See you soon. After Lena and Yury Petrovich, it is much more comfortable for me to speak, because all the important things have already been said, and all I can modestly add is that indeed during these seminars we think about in humanitarian terms and about us, the humans, but we do that through the concepts of institutions and the globalized world. We shall be meeting once a week, every Sunday at 1700 Sunday evenings. We shall be having these expert meetings, and we shall be reading books and involve into these deliberations which will originate during such discussions. You are welcome to influence our little forums, and we have some voting context, and if you want to change something in the program of our I class, you may certainly do that. But if I may refer to the History Teaches book, let me just remind ourselves that we should be taking the advice of Immanuel Kant in being respectful towards the opinions of the others. This is indeed what Vasily Maklakov said and wrote about when he first talked about the ability and the capacity to consider the other and the opinion of the other, if it's an opponent. In an empirical way, it is probably impossible to understand what your values are, but it is probably possible to make and to provide a new mode of perceiving yourself as a citizen. I think that in the modern world, citizen becomes a key concept without which no country may exist. The same pertains to the civil society, and it is indeed the topic that we shall start considering tomorrow. And Sasha will tell a few words about the program of the upcoming seminar. Dear members of the I-Forum, let me first join in to the welcoming addresses of my friends, colleagues and family members. Let me also say that it is my pleasure to be with you for the next year in these forums, and with those of you who will be active, we shall, I think, have quite a good understanding and familiarity of each other, starting from by October or November of this year. But among our visitors and guests, we shall be having many very renowned experts for this seminar, including Natalia Zubarevich, Naum Kleiman, Diana Vorozheikin, Fyodor Lukyanov. Well, the program has been publicized, and the program is published, so you may get familiarized with it. You are welcome to choose those sessions which are of greatest interest to you. All sessions will be broadcast except for the roundtables late in the evening, and you may well comment on those interesting moments that you might be aware of. With respect to the English language broadcasting and the simultaneous interpreting will be given for the first 2 hours of this seminar, which will be the first session for this coming week. Upon the end of the seminar, we shall start the regular online meetings with and hopefully with some of the very well-known experts. However, let me say that every expert is not just a lecturer. This is not something for you to consider like a student at a college. No, every expert that we invite, and we shall be inviting to these discussions, is just as much as an interlocutor, and you are well expected to become partners in this dialogue. So we certainly encourage and advise you to comment, ask questions, and contribute. The one thing that we would certainly want to turn your attention to is the form of your contributions. So we certainly recommend you to follow the form of how the discussion is being held here in Golitsino, and which is the general format for all of the discussions and considerations and deliberations at the Moscow School. Well, we certainly do hope that this will be a momentous intellectual exercise for you. We thank you for joining in, and we hope for a very fruitful year of this I-Forum. Let me also thank Mark Dadian, our interpreter, the person who is now uttering these same phrases in the English language. He's just as much and we also like to thank Nemirovskaya, the author of the program of this seminar. Let me also say and to thank Evgeny Tishenko from the city of Irkutsk, who is a great participant and who has been most instrumental in making and leaving the comments, and so he's quite good in leaving these comments. Thank you, Eugene, and it is a great pleasure to impart this to Lena and Yury Petrovich.